Back once again with Erika Brown, the publisher and editor of The Cricket, coming to us from her office in Manchester by the Sea. How you doing, Erika?
I'm doing great, Kory.
It's just us again today.
I know. I was just gonna say, where's Heather?
We
Where's
don't know if
Heather?
she's still shaking off Fiesta in the fourth, I'm guessing. But either way, you and I have a lot to go over, right? So right off the top, let's talk Stuffy.
Okay, well, John, I was gonna say John McInnis. Who's that?
Yeah.
We did your version. You do Timeline Cape Ann for 1623, and we partner with you, and we do a print version of it, which is a completely different kind of product. In terms of a story,
An
and
award-winning print version, Erika.
well,
Thanks
actually,
you.
in all seriousness, we've won 2 awards for the print version of Timeline Cape Ann, as one by the New England Newspaper Association. And this year, we just won from the National Newspaper Association, because it's a really interesting, awesome series of stories that you peg. And in this case, it was Stuffy McInnis, who, people say, who's Stuffy McInnis? He's the greatest athlete in the history of Cape Ann. Isn't that right?
And not even close. He's the most professionally accomplished athlete by 30 miles. Like, it's ridiculous what this guy did. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Baseball player in the beginning of the 20th century. Extraordinary. What a story. I mean, I just loved it. I mean, it's got such universal appeal. So I'm going to turn it around. You tell me. Here's Stuffy McInnis. Great story, right?
It's an amazing story. I mean, he basically he comes from a family of athletes at the turn of the 20th century in all sports, but he really took to baseball, and he's short. Like, he's only 5'8", and he's a stocky guy. And eventually gets noticed playing locally here, Evansfield and Rockport, Stage 4 Park. He's playing in the local high schools, and he's playing with college students and men, and he's excelling, and eventually gets noticed by an acquaintance of Connie Mack, who's one of the biggest names in the history of baseball, a pioneer for Major League Baseball, who owns the Philadelphia Athletics, and literally brings Stuffy McInnis from playing in front of 100 people in Manchester to 25,000 in Philadelphia within 6 months. And
And
he's a 5-time world champion.
yeah, and at the time he's 18 years old. He's a kid.
Yeah, he's the youngest guy in the American League. If you see
Exactly.
his first baseball card, he looks like a child. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah, so it's just it was cool unraveling that story and going into the rabbit holes and all that. And later in life, he spends the last 40 years of his life on Tappan Street in Manchester,
Yep.
rooting on high school basketball and football, et cetera, et cetera. And he's just putting around at the old fruit store in the back of the old Browns Market. And he was just stay quiet and to himself, and like to, he loved kids and would always chat them up. But otherwise, he was just sort of a quiet, decent guy who liked hanging around with his buddies and shooting the breeze.
Well, I love the fact that you summarized his entire athletic career. And for anybody who would want to put it up for debate, he had a 300 over a 300 average career
Mhm.
average in batting, which is extraordinary. Right? So 307, he was at bats at least 8,000 times.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, he was at 500 times. And then he had the lowest strikeout ratio with at least 8,000 at bats. That's what it was.
So that's a batting part of it. Yeah, is he was an on base machine. Like, he wasn't a power guy, but he was always on base. He had a sharp eye. He rarely struck out, and he's literally in the top 10 in major league categories today for how rare he struck out. And that was just the offensive part of his game. He's really known for his defense, and literally one of the very best defensive players of all time. And his
Oh,
fielding percentage is 990, which is insane. Basically, 99% of the time he was part of a play, he makes the play, and he's a first baseman. So
exactly.
he's the one scooping up and vacuuming all the missed throws, things in the dirt. And the other things this is in an era where the stadiums didn't have lights. So he's playing with less light. Spitballs and mud balls and all that were legal. You hit a foul ball, they kept playing with the ball. So it was beat up. So different hops. And obviously the fields weren't in the conditions they're in nowadays. So he really was something else, on the diamond.
What an interesting story. I loved it. And I know readers are going to really love it. And it's out this week. It's amazing.
It looks
Amazing.
great.
So great job on that. And it also reminds me that the Inner Twilight League, even though I don't think did Stuffy ever play for the Inner Twilight League?
It's weird because I think the Inner Twilight League starts about 100 years or so ago, and Stuffy's career ends in the late 20s, and he would barnstorm like with Babe Ruth in the summers. But I didn't see if he ever stepped in for an ITL game, although I'd imagine it must have happened because ringers would get plucked all the time, like either playing exhibitions or little local league games. And there were a lot of local leagues back, like the Salem Witches were a team, Beverly had a team, Lynn had a team. So you would think at some point, I just didn't find it, but there might be someone out there who knows.
Yeah, well, the Inner Twilight League is up and running, and they play locally for us, for our Mariners, which is the Manchester Essex Mariners. They play at the Annie Gosby Field in Essex, which is behind Town Hall, and it's every Tuesday. It's not always home games, by the way, but when it is a home game, it's such a great thing to go and see. It's like really, it's a summer tradition. And the Mariners have won 6 of the last 7 years. They've been sort of the league champions. And isn't the Inner Twilight League the oldest amateur baseball league in the country?
It's the oldest yet independent baseball league, recognized by the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Unbelievable.
So if the National Baseball Hall of Fame can recognize the ITL for that, why not just look further into Manchester and find Stuffy and get him?
Yes.
He's got to get in through like a special veterans committee now to have a chance to get
Well,
in.
this was the thing, and not to go back to your article, but I'm going to go back to your article. The piece that I found most interesting is that there's nothing in Cape Ann that's been named after him. And we just talked about the Annie Gosby Field. Annie Gosby's story she's from Essex, and she was an amazing player. She was, in the Rockford Peaches, right? Which the movie was about. And
League of Their Own, yep.
their own, exactly. But Stuffy McInnis, there's nothing on Cape Ann named after him?
It's amazing. No, not a stadium, not even a field. I mean, we have ball fields all over Cape Ann. And so maybe this is a catalyst for something to happen for that man to get recognized, because extraordinary person and extraordinary player. So it was really cool to share that story with everybody.
Absolutely. And the ITL, by the way, the Mariners are having their raffle right now, so you can go out and buy tickets. They're only selling 100 tickets, and because they've got all the prizes, like $1,200 first prize, but it's really to raise money for their equipment. So,
and the Mariners, they're dynastic. They're the Yankees of the ITL. They are. Yeah, they've always been studs.
I love that you said the Yankees.
Well, we know. Yeah, all caps. And
there you go. That was that.
So Erika, there's a ton going on in Manchester this month, right? We have the fishing tournament, and
with the fishing tournament, that's coming up in like just 2 weeks. I mean, that's the bringing back. A couple of years ago, Nate Berkowitz brought that back, and that's a total tradition. The striper fishing tournament, although they also have bluefish, but it's the fishing tournament that's happening in a couple of weeks. So we're definitely looking at that. And then the other thing that's going on in a couple of weeks too, I think it's the 23rd, the Manchester Masons and the American Legion Post 113 behind Town Hall in Manchester. They started this tradition last year or 2 years ago. They put a tent. Okay, well, okay, it's a lobster feed and steak. So it's lobster and steak, and it's like the best deal in town. You can also get chicken though. But the best part of it is, other than the fact that it's an incredible meal, I love the fact that one of the best views in Manchester by the Sea, waterfront views, is the parking lot behind the American Legion.
That is true. Yeah, I'm always back there taking pictures. Yeah.
Oh, God, it's incredible. It's gorgeous. It's like $1 million view parking lot. So they put up a tent back there. They clear the parking lot, put up a tent, and then set up the tables, and the girls go out there, and you can go into the Legion, get yourself a nice strong drink, and just relax and walk home.
I remember when you did that when you went last year, and how, I mean, it was such a fun event for you.
It's so much fun. It's like great. It's like what community is all about. So that's it's $50 a ticket if you want both the lobster and the steak. And then the prices go down based on whether you just have one or the other, or you just want chicken. And it's again, it's coming up on July 23rd, so that's a big one.
Yeah, go for the lobster, stay for the parking lot views, you know. Erika, awesome stuff as always. Enjoy your weekend, or enjoy your week, and we will catch you on the other side.
Got it.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.